I don't know how to make this video without sounding like I am exempt from the problem, because I'm not. Realistically, I'm not. Because even the art of making this video is proving that you can't do it without sounding like a bit of a pretentious prick. But there is a problem in the Irish cosplay community, and it really is social media. I say that as someone who has benefited from social media, from getting content creator passes to even just people being inspired by me and then like giving me free shit, which I probably wouldn't have gotten if I wasn't on social media. I wouldn't have met people on social media if I didn't make my following on social media. But social media has become a problem, and it's not that everybody in the Irish cosplay community is the problem, but we could probably condense it down to a good handful of people. But that handful of people are spreading it out and causing further backlash. And now I have to talk about it, because I know if I don't talk about it, it will seep in my head for fucking months. So where do we begin? One of the things that I think is causing the most issues is the entitlement. And it's very easy to just say this is young cosplayers or young people in the community. It's a lot of people. There are people who act like they are God's gift, that they are the character that they cosplay as. And the honest answer is they're not. Realistically, if they're part of the problem, and unless they're only cosplaying villains, they're not the character. They've allowed this sense of moral superiority to erode their vision to the point that they can't see what they're doing. Is that like a get out of jail free card? No, of course not. That would be stupid. I have empathy for people who cannot see that they are the problem, because how many times that I was clearly the problem in a situation, I just couldn't see it. However, these are also the same people who have a very staunch attitude about morality, that their way is the only way, it's the only way that's correct. Now, don't get me wrong, some of the things I'm going to mention, these are things that if we don't share these opinions on, then we can't be friends. But one of the key points is the idea of, like, racism has no place in the Irish cosplay community. It shouldn't have any place in the Irish cosplay community, because that's fucking stupid. It should have position in anywhere in life, but yet it has a prominent spot in the Irish cosplay community, because some people like to tell other people that they should, and I quote, cosplay within their own race. That is a horrific state. There was a young man named Eddie who made a video after a cosplay competition and had basically been told, said he should stick within his own race. It was later pointed out to me that most of these people cosplay anime characters, so maybe they should take their own fucking advice. That is such an outrageous statement to say to a young black man, let alone just in cosplay, but in general. Where do people get the idea that they have any sort of authority to talk about racism or any of that shit when they're saying that shit with their chest? I completely empathize with people accidentally doing shit, right? That is racist. That is stupid, right? I've done that a dozen times. Not proud of them, but I don't make the same mistake twice. And needless to say, you'll never have me on my fucking pedestal saying, cosplay within your own race, to a person of color. Worst thing I'll say to a man who is a white man, maybe don't cosplay Black Panther. Maybe that one you don't need to do. Oh, but I really like the character. You don't need to do it. If you want to buy it, I have one of them, the Black Panther bomber jackets. I have one of those. I think it looks fucking cool. That's fine. I'm not trying to be Black Panther. Both from a historical, real world movement, but to a character whose literal existence is tied to a culture. At that point, it no longer becomes a costume. And at that point, I have to be like, you know what? I can let that one go. I can let that one go. Other people wouldn't. I'll be totally for real with you. I love Atem from Yu-Gi-Oh! I love the Pharaoh. And I think his drip in the final season, where he's literally the Pharaoh of Egypt, right? I fucking love that shit. I would wear that shit. But I don't think it's appropriate for a white man to cosplay an Egyptian king. So if I was ever to do a version, it's where he's wearing his fucking BDSM fucking uniform, you know? Like that version. But I think that's, again, a hill you shouldn't die on. I don't care how much you like the character. Maybe you should just pick a lane. insane. On top of that, like, I feel social media numbers inflates people's egos and they accumulate that with popularity. I find it wild when I tell people that, like, yeah, I have 26,000 something followers on TikTok. That's the one I have the most on, so that's the reason I remember the number as well. When I tell people, like, yeah, I'm not talking to everybody every day. Or, like, if some lad's sticking, like, I have girls in my DMs hit me up, or I'm hitting up girls, like, no, I'm not. I couldn't be arsed. First of all, I'm way too exhausted from working, like, a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Why would I think I'd have the time to be going around, like, chatting up women on fucking Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and using the fact that I have a certain amount of followers? And the one thing I can at least sit here and confidently say is that I've never, ever paid for them just so I'd have more than a guy I really didn't like. Anyone who knows me knows there's a lot of people, not just in the Irish community, but beyond, who I actively didn't like, and I would have loved to have had more followers then just to shit on them. Just as much as there are lads who I hated, and then I found out that they were pedophiles, which is always a good, like, thing. More like, for me, I'm like, yes, it's not the following that matters, it's the fact that this man's a pedophile. But yeah, I think it's really, really strong test of somebody that they don't actually care what your following is, because they're just confident in themselves. And it's hard to explain that to people. It's hard to tell people that their following doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it could go like that. It's a fickle system. What if everyone just decided, you know what, I'm going to leave TikTok? What if everyone decided, I don't actually care for TikTok anymore, and they go on to the newest, like, social media website, and then you have to start from the bottom up? I'm doing that with Twitch. I'm doing that with YouTube. That's okay. I've actually, if anything, it's made me reevaluate how much I'm trying, and maybe I should try less. But I think when it comes to, like, these people, they're obsessed with the number, that their number needs to be higher than the number they don't like. And who cares? The only person who cares is you. The person you don't like probably doesn't fucking care what your number is. They're just happy that they're getting followings at all. So why does anyone care? Why do you care so much that someone is doing better than you, when you could be doing better than you, by working, by doing more to improve your skills and your own passion for the art? Instead, you're worrying about what fucking Johnny over here is doing. You're worried about what he's up. He's worried what he's up. There's need to be two of you. But on top of it, it's just, I also think reaction culture. I think being the first to jump on somebody for whatever reason is like a valid excuse for some people. It goes without saying, we all know that there was an attempt at setting up an Irish cosplay content creator award, right? And the intention was good. I fully will defend that the intention of that was good. In hindsight, and I think the person themselves would even attest to this, it was poorly thought. I believed in the vision, and then I remembered what the cosplay community is like, because I've had conversations with a few people about it, and I went, you know what, I see where you're coming from, and I agree with you. Maybe this was a bad idea. But that doesn't mean that the person who came up with the idea is a bad person. The people who threw abuse at, there's a difference between criticism and harassment, right? The criticism is, I can see where you're coming from, and I can see what your intention was. However, considering X, Y, and Z, this is why I don't think it would be a good idea. The harassment is, you're a fucking scumbag. You are trying to divide people and treat people like shit. You're just as bad as the people you complain about. That's the difference. Criticism usually has a foundation, as in something that you can improve on. And sometimes the thing you can improve on is stop doing the thing that you're doing. I know you're trying to do X, it's coming off as Y, so maybe you should try Z. Rather than, fuck you, and then we just have the blatant attitude of hypocrisy. And I know you're sitting there, Ren, you complaining about all this shit, are you not a hypocrite yourself? And in a way, yes, but at the same time, someone has to say something. We can't just keep going on with this attitude of, oh, we'll just let people post on their stories and let that be a statement. I want people to actually be able to go back on this and really think about this and figure out, was I right in what I said? Was I not right in what I said? All these other things, do you know? I think it's totally fair and totally valid to critique the things that I say. And even if you feel inclined to tell me and be like, oh, I think you should have said this, or maybe you talked a little too long on that, I'd appreciate, because like at the end of the day, if your intention is to help me, I'll read that as that. And if I don't think that's that way, I'll either A, ignore it, or B, I'll ask questions about what you meant so I can get a full understanding. But I don't necessarily always think people are out to get. I don't think first glance, oh, this person's saying something I don't agree with, therefore they hate. I don't think that intentionally, even if sometimes it sounds like, but it's always good to know that someone's able to have a conversation with me. And again, if you're watching this video and you think, oh, fuck off, okay, fuck off. You're allowed to stop watching. You don't have to listen to me. Just as much as I don't have to listen to you. We're individuals with our own grasp on life, and we're allowed to do what we like. The only thing I ever say is maybe don't be a fucking hypocrite demanding that people listen to you when you won't listen to them. That was a lesson I had to learn, and I've learned it. I've also learned that regardless of where you are in the world, in the community, whatever, this is all supposed to be just fun. It's supposed to be just fun. And I don't see why people are just absolutely losing their fucking rag. I understand there's a lot going in the world, and I understand that sometimes the only way to make sense of things is just be mad. I think the motto of sex sells is gone, rage sells. I've heard that a fair bit, and I think they're right. Unfortunately, rage is what's driving a lot of people, and I say that as a guy who was perpetually angry for so long that I worry it's become my brand. Yeah, I think we all just need to learn to figure out when's the right point for us to actually talk about something. I've been struggling to make this video because I don't want to come off as hypocritical as the people I'm criticizing, the people who are, you know, lambasting other people for not being perfect or not being correct or whatever. But I also feel like if we don't have these uncomfortable conversations and we don't have these reflections about why we're doing the things we're doing and why aren't things going the way we want them to, it stems down to the fact that we're not doing enough, and we should be. I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I never will be. I will always strive to be the best version of myself. I know along that way I will make mistakes, and I am grateful. I have friends who will hold me accountable, friends who will have no problem pulling me aside and be like, hey, Ren, I don't think you were okay. I don't think you were right in saying that, and this is why you weren't right. And then allowing me time to process that, listen to it, and either accept their criticism or reject it and not have a falling out over it. I have very left-leaning views. I very much believe that the same freedom of speech that I have, other people should have. I believe that people should have the right to live. I feel like people have the right to have their privacy respected. The only time I believe anything less is when they are actively hurting or harming other people. I think that's where I'm going to leave it. If you are in any way, shape, or form feel like I've talked about you in a negative light about this video, you have two options. One, you could message me directly and ask me, or you can do nothing, because that's also an option. If I wanted to, I know I could lambast a bunch of people, but it does not serve me to do so. Just as much as I feel like a lot of those people who would think that I'm lambasting them, I don't believe it serves them to have an open conversation with me about why I think the way I think, because that would be admitting they're doing the things that I don't know. Other people could think whatever they want, and that's the whole point.